has a purpose. God has a plan. I'm living His will. He's got me in His hands. I'm chilling, chilling, chilling with purpose. God has a purpose. God has a plan. I'm living His will. He's got me in His hands. I'm chilling, chilling, chilling with purpose. Got me in His hands.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Chillin' with Purpose, because that's what we do. We live every day chilling with purpose. Do you know that when you are walking in your purpose, you can say that you chilling with purpose? When you are fulfilling your purpose and you're walking in it, it is so much easier than trying to live somebody else's life. And it will cause you to chill with purpose. As y'all can see, this is not Mark. What? Mark had to work late. We did a switcheroo, and his beautiful wife is joining us tonight. And we are so excited to have Anna J. I actually want to call her Dr. Anna J. I'm just saying. She is also the awesome daughter of the phenomenal Curlette and Sandra Jordan. What? Woo, 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 woo. And she is a recent graduate. She graduated with her bachelor's degree in criminal justice. What? And then, listen, y'all. She just graduated. When was it? May 12th, right?
Yes.
May 12th. How many days is that? 10, 11. 11 days. 11 days later, she starts a new job, y'all. Next Tuesday, 1 week from today, she starts her job. Yes, she will be starting out as a case manager for a foster care facility. Isn't that awesome? So y'all come on in. Come on in. Y'all a little slow today coming on in. Come on in. We about to get it in. I'm so excited to have her as our guest. We are going to turn this over to her in a minute. As soon as I ask my co-host how they doing, so that she can share her story of redemption and restoration. Magdalene, how you doing today?
Well, feeling much better now that I have recovered from COVID. Praise Jesus.
Good. Good, good, good. How you doing, Sandy J?
I am doing great.
Good.
Awesome, fantastic, all the things that goes with it. Yes.
I know your chest got to be a little bit swole today because you got your girl sitting next to you on the screen.
I know. I'm excited to hear what she has to say. You know, kids always surprise you when they start telling their story because you're like, how did I miss that part? So,
Right.
yes, so I'm excited. Yeah.
And Selena, how you doing tonight, girl?
I'm doing good.
Good, 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 good. Good to see you. All right, Anna, we are in your hands so you can share a portion of your life with us. And hey, we ready.
Okay. Well, hi. My name is Anna. My last name is Jordan. My mom is on the screen with me, and my mom's been in the church for a very long time. So I guess I'd probably just start with the beginning of my life.
Okay.
So, of course, I grew up in the church. My mom was always in the church. Like, we were there almost every single week I can remember. And maybe it wasn't every week, but it felt like a lot as a child. And I can honestly say I was not a person that really liked going to church. I mean, I more was interested in seeing my friends than anything. I didn't really understand the church, like what church was for and what like the purpose was. But of course, I just went to church. And then I would say once after a while, my parents ended up separating, and I would say their separation really kind of just broke me. I'd still have to go to church, but it's still like it just wasn't as important to me as a child because I was used to always both my parents went to church together, and that's just how it was. And then all of a sudden, it was on weekends I'd have to go spend time with my mom, and then Monday through Friday was with my dad. So it really just hurt me. And I was pretty sad. I would probably say that's probably when most of my anxiety started happening as a child, super young. I had anxiety and depression, and I did go to therapy, but therapy just didn't really help me. So then eventually my parents got back together, which was great. And of course, I was happy. And I would say even after my parents got back together, I wasn't a child that got in trouble. Like, usually when parents separate, children tend to act out in school. Well, I didn't really start acting out in school until they got back together. I'm not really sure why I chose to wait. I am a criminal justice major, so basically I took a class in juvenile delinquency, and I found out that usually children who engage in juvenile delinquency, it usually is something that they feel they're pressured to do by their peers. Or for me, my brother was always in trouble when I was a kid, and I just felt like it was cool, being one of the bad kids, being a kid that used to get in trouble and had to get their parents called and all that kind of stuff. And I like to argue. I still to this day like to argue. And I just did not feel like the rules of my school just didn't interest me. So I would get in trouble by I didn't really fight. I usually would just argue with people. My school was super strict on dress code, so my shirt wasn't tucked in, my belt didn't match, or I was talking when teachers were talking. I also kind of had a bad attitude, so it would be cussing. I used to get in trouble a lot for cussing at school and all that kind of stuff. And I just felt like I was a really cool kid just being bad and, being a part of the group that just defied the rules. So eventually I ended up getting expelled from my school, and then I was sent to a different school, which I actually did a lot better in the school. I don't really know why I did better. Maybe it was because I went to a charter school and I just felt like the rules didn't fit me. And now I'm outside of the charter school, which means I could be a little bit more lenient. So I got expelled. I think it was in the 8th grade. I went to a different school, and then I ended up getting in trouble again. I ended up getting caught with marijuana, and it was when I think about it now as an adult, it was not very smart of me. I decided to bring a pipe to school, and me and my friend wanted to smoke. We decided that we were going to go smoke in the bathroom, which is not the smartest thing now that I think about it. But back then, my brain was not fully developed. So we both went in the bathroom. We ended up smoking, and I decided to poke my head out of the door, and I looked back and forth to see if anybody was coming. And they caught me on camera, and they found out that I had brought weed to school. So that I ended up getting into legal trouble. I had to do community service. I had to pay a fine. I was on probation. And it wasn't fun. Although I felt like it was dumb because when marijuana, it's whatever. But now that I look at it as an adult, it wasn't the smartest thing for me to do because that could really destroy your record. Mm-hmm. So then after that, I did pretty well throughout school. And then my 9th grade year, I believe it was my 9th grade or my 10th grade year, I ended up getting pregnant with my son. And I also met my husband, which my husband's not here tonight. I ended up trading with him. And I had my son, I believe I was 15 years old. So I think I was either a sophomore or a junior. And I would say being pregnant wasn't that hard because my school was super lenient. They helped me. I ended up finishing the semester. The day that I ended up going into labor was my last day of school until January. So they were very flexible. But now I had to balance between being a young mom, and then also going to school. And that was kind of hard because I can't even describe how hard it was. It's just having to wake up in the middle of the night, having to do homework. And of course I had my parents, but all the independence that my parents have instilled in me, I really just wanted to figure it out on my own. I wanted to know what it would be like, to not have my parents there and really just try to juggle homework and juggle going to work and juggle having a kiddo. And I would honestly say I suffered for postpartum depression for a long time, and I couldn't figure out why. But I really just realized that it was because I wasn't depending on other people to care for my son when I really needed. And I would say that, like, if somebody was to ever get pregnant young, I would really try to lean on other people. One of my friends, she ended up having her baby maybe a couple years later, and I always told her, like, always have that person that you can depend on or somebody you can lean on. I had both of my parents, but I just felt like since I got pregnant, it was a shame. Like, I had sex out of wedlock. I wasn't married. I had my baby. I'm in school, and there's so many negative stereotypes about young mothers, especially when you're an African American mother. So I just really felt kind of alone and depressed. But then after that, I ended up, having my husband there. He was really helpful and he's supportive. We've been together for like 9 years. So he was there from the beginning, and just having him as that support really helped me kind of just get throughout the rest of life. I might be jumping around. I'm so sorry.
You're good. Nope, you're good.
So then basically after meeting my husband, even with us being together young, we went through our own problems. We went through just not getting along, arguments. We would just kind of be off and on, like one minute we'd be together and the next minute we wouldn't. And that kind of just made our relationship, how do you say it, tumultuous? I can't even say the word, but it just made it kind of all over the place. And then also having my son as well. My son was going to preschool. I just graduated from high school, and now I'm trying to go to college, and I'm trying to juggle going to college, working. I was trying to work full time, and then I tried to work part time, and then being in this relationship. And it was really, really hard to just juggle all of this stuff, especially with me and my husband both being very immature, and we're trying to figure out like where we fit within this relationship. So I moved out of my parents' house. Me and him ended up getting a place together. And then I think after a year of us being together, we ended up breaking up, and I ended up moving back in with my parents, which at that point, I just didn't want to be with my husband anymore. I was just like, I'm going to go be single. My son's a little bit older, so he's slightly more sufficient. So I'm just going to go be who I want to be. So after us not being together for 6 months, for some odd reason, he won me back over. It's just because he's a great person and I really love him. So we ended up getting back together. And then we decided that we were going to go get an apartment together along with my friend. And that situation ended up also adding on more drama to our relationship and putting us in another strenuous situation. And it was just, my friend was no longer my friend. She didn't like my husband. She wanted nothing to do with him. And she ended up making our whole entire life kind of just turn upside down. We had cops getting called all the time. I had to deal with the leasing office because my husband couldn't be on the lease for certain circumstances. So we were going through that. And then we had our dogs, and she was trying to get our dog taken away. So it just kind of was, again, rocky. And of course, dealing with the relationship issues was rocky. That went on for like 2 years. And then now moving into this situation, it also was rocky. And then it ended up affecting me to the point where I just ended up feeling suicidal. I've always been suicidal since I was a child. And then being in this situation, once again, caused me to feel suicidal. Made me feel like I just had nobody, that I was lost. And why would somebody who I love so much put me in such a situation like this? Like, I love my best friend. We've been best friends since we were in 6th grade. And to go now to all of a sudden, for all this long time that we've been friends, for it to get broken up like this, and cops are being called, and I feel like unsafe in my own apartment, it kind of just broke me. And it made me feel, once again, depressed, and I was having anxiety, and I just suicidal thoughts and all this kind of stuff. And it really, one of the things I've struggled with is cutting. Whenever I feel like I can't control a situation, I have a tendency to where I feel like I have to inflict pain upon myself to make me feel, I would say, maybe grounded, or make me feel like I can control this. And I just remember sitting in the bathroom and I had the razor in my hand and I wanted to cut myself so bad. But something kept telling me, you don't have to do that. It's not that serious. You're going to get through this. And I'm like, whatever. I don't believe you. But I ended up just not cutting myself. And also, I would say dealing with my son as well. This traumatized my son, and he still talks about it to this day. He had anxiety. He was scared about whether or not he was going to have to deal with more arguing, or this person even ended up calling social services on me and my husband, and he was scared that he was going to get taken away, and I had to like reassure him like, you're okay. I was like, nobody's going to take you away, and even if somebody was to take you away, you get to go by your nanny, which he loves him some nanny. So I was like, either way, you're still going to be okay, and mommy and daddy will do our best to get you back. And that really broke me too, because I'm just like, I don't feel like my son at such a young age should feel so anxious and feel like, something like this can happen to him. So then after that, we ended up just moving out of that apartment, and we ended up going to another apartment. Once again, rocky. And I just dealing with a neighbor who just didn't like my family, and I just don't know why. Dealing with that situation was another it was a toxic situation, and it just did not make me feel good. And then we had to move again. And then I had my son asking me, like, why are we moving so much? Why do I have to keep switching schools and going through all this kind of stuff? And I just had to explain to him, like, it's temporary. We're trying to make your life the best that it can be. And I just want you to be happy. So, ignore all the stuff that's going on. We're going to take care of you and just keep doing you, while also struggling with my own going to school, going to work, and having to deal with that anxiety and depression again. So from there, we ended up moving into our current place. And I would say this is more like my redemption. My life has gotten a lot better. I ended up finishing school. I graduated with my bachelor's in criminal justice, which I could say I'm proud of myself. And I know my family's proud of me, because I've been in school from 2016 until now, and I finally got to graduate with my degree. And it's just the excitement of being able to do that. So then now I also am starting a new job as well. I am going to be a case manager for a foster care agency within my company. And that's exciting to me, because I love working with people. I love helping people who have also been maybe through the same issues as me. People who have struggled with, I don't know, drug addiction, although personally I haven't dealt with that, but dealing with, maybe a domestic violence situation. Me and my husband used to argue, although it wasn't as grand as that. I understand what it feels like to, feel like nothing's working out for you. And I want people to know that there's somebody out there who agrees with you, and I don't feel like you should have to live this way, and that I can help you, even if it's a little kid, just being that support. So I got a job. I got to graduate. And then now also me and my husband are working on hopefully finalizing our marriage, because we haven't signed our marriage certificate yet, but I still call him my husband, because that is what he is. We've been together for so long, so he deserves that title. And then also we're working on buying a house as well, so that we can finally be stable and, continue to grow as well. I have nothing else.
That's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story. And you have a story of overcoming obstacles and pitfalls. That's what I heard the entire story. And don't fret, because we're going to fill this hour, because we got questions for you. And we have comments. It's a beautiful story. 1 second. Let me just write my note. Do you ladies have something that you want to say to Miss Anna? Look, Mom just smiling. She's been grinning the whole time you've been talking. Go ahead, Selena.
I do. So you were talking about how your son was asking you questions, and how you could feel him having his own anxiety when, like you said, like when the fights and things were coming on. And how did you basically not take on that anxiety, and how did you how did you not struggle with that and take on that anxiety?
Yeah. So I would definitely say I started going to therapy a lot more. And I have to call upon my mom for this. My mom was a great support system as well. And I would let her know, like, that Zai was dealing with this anxiety and this kind of stuff. And she would just like reassure me that it's okay. Don't take it on myself because it's not my fault. It's kind of like the other person's fault. And I would also say one thing that my son started to do, which he hasn't done it lately, and I feel like maybe it's because he's a little bit more calm and he feels more settled. But one thing my son would always ask for is for us to say a prayer before we went to bed. And I would honestly say, like, saying a prayer before bed really helps me feel like, I don't have to hold on to his anxiety and his depression because he's also giving it to God as well. So I have God helping me take away this stress and anxiety from myself and also taking it away from my son as well, which, of course, having that church background really helps because I can always call my mom and my mom's like, pray about it. I don't want to pray about it, but it does really help in the end. I hope that answered your question.
Yes. Yes.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Anyone else have any questions or comments for Mrs. Anna?
We got to fill in the hour.
I'm trying to give them a chance because listen.
Okay, we have another question.
I'm the mom, so it's hard for me to ask questions. I'm just,
I have
it's
another
hard for
one.
me to ask questions.
Okay. So
yeah.
I know you said in the beginning that going to counseling didn't help, but has it helped you now?
I would say yes. I am huge into mental health now. I realize how important it is to have a therapist and having a person you can talk to. So I definitely recommend any person getting therapy. It's one of my favorite things because I'm able to trauma dump on my therapist and then just kind of leave it. And I could also say, I could also say that having God as well. I haven't been able to really build my relationship with God as much as I'd like to, but I also have, like, sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself, but I'm basically talking to God, and I'll just have that conversation back and forth, and it's kind of like telling myself to be confident. So I'll say, hey God, I'm having a really bad day. I feel like, honestly, I just want to go kill myself, or I'm just having that stress and anxiety. Then it'll come back and say, well, why do you feel like you want to kill yourself? Like, it's really not that bad. Like, killing yourself is 10 times worse. And I hate to say that, but that's like some of the conversations that I do have. And, it's just kind of like talking back and forth, like having that, I don't know, it's kind of like that devil and that angel, like they're weighing the options, but then God's coming in harder. Like, no, it's not that serious. You get over it.
Okay.
I love it. I love it. Magdalene, go ahead. I think she froze again.
I think she froze.
All right.
I will say this as a mom.
Tell parents that you were pregnant.
Oh.
Okay,
sorry,
wait.
can you repeat
Magdalene, you have to start over if you can hear us because you froze. So we're not cutting you off. You're freezing. So will you ask your question again?
Oh, no.
Okay, so she just left altogether. Okay, go ahead, Sandra. What were you going to say?
I think I said as a mom, I think you always step back sometimes, because sometimes I feel as a mom, when your kids are going through different challenges in life, sometimes you have to be the silent voice in the back while you're praying, because my children, because they are very, how should I say, the way how they grew up, they are very strong-minded. So so sometimes your voice is like I will say, when they're going through things, sometimes it's better for you as a parent sometimes to be silent and let God bring other people in the midst of them to be that voice or to confirm what you have been saying. Because sometimes they can give like a dull air to you, but then later on in life, you see where God is doing a work in them, but he does not need, because I am like a, what is it? Maybe like a mother hen over my children, always trying to fix, and sometimes she will tell me, Mom, you can't fix this. Just be, kind of be quiet sometimes. Yeah. So I think she had to go through the journey that she was on, but still be the person in the background that when she do ask for help, that you are there to help. Am I right, Anna?
Yeah, I actually want to chime in. So I completely agree with my mom. And one thing, I don't remember if I had this conversation with her. I feel like I did, but we have a lot of conversations because I call my mom almost every day to every other day. But I would say that as a kid, I never really understood why my parents were the way that they were and why they raised me the way that I was. I just felt like, it wasn't good enough. And what they were saying just didn't matter. And I was like, you know what? I just didn't like them. And I was like, you guys are just telling me things that are not applicable to my life. And one thing my mom always used to say is pray about it, God this, God that. And it bothered me. But as I've gotten older, and I don't know, I usually say it's because the brain does not mature until you're 25. It's your frontal lobe. And I would say as soon as I turned 25, it's kind of like there was just ray of sunshine. And I realized that everything that my parents did for me young made me who I was today. And I appreciate them for that. And I say, for any person, for me, even as a mother, my son, I know for a fact that what I'm doing now, he feels like I'm mean. He feels like I'm controlling him and I'm just not allowing him to be who he wants to be. But once he reaches 25 or whenever his brain fully develops, I feel like he's going to better understand why I raised him the way that I did and why, what I was telling him young really mattered when he was older.
I like that. What I was telling him young really mattered when he gets older.
Yes, it does.
I like that. Yes, that is so awesome. I need to sit with that. That is good. Oh my goodness. And the fact that you see it even now, you would still be considered a young mom in the sense of you're not old in age.
I feel like it.
You see, you see though, the importance of, okay, I'm going to say some things that as a parent, it's good medicine for you, even though it's not going to feel good. Mm-hmm. It's like that cod liver oil kind of parenting. This is rich in nutrients, but it tastes awful. And parenting has some sections like that. So I love that. I love that. So how is your, do you still deal a lot with anxiety?
Yeah, I would say. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. How do you manage it now?
I would say, so I can honestly say I did not manage it well for the longest amount of time. I kind of just pushed it down. Usually the best way for me to get over that anxiety, because my anxiety is weird. It's kind of like generalized anxiety. So there's certain situations that'll trigger it, like such as I just recently got into a car accident. So that triggered some anxiety to the point where now when I'm driving, I'm super hyper vigilant. But the best way for me to stop feeling like I have to be hyper vigilant and that every person's going to hit me is I kind of just drown it out with positivity. Be it like me telling myself, you're going to be okay, everything's going to be fine, or even doing some self-care activities. Like I started going to the gym. I love going to the gym. It really helps me bring down that anxiety, or even like talking to somebody. I'll talk to my mom, I'll talk to my husband. That really helps me get through that anxiety. Going to therapy as well. I was going to therapy consistently, and now I kind of just slowed down on it because my life is not as chaotic as it usually is. Mm-hmm. So just kind of ignoring the anxiety helps a little bit, but also just telling myself I'll be okay.
I like that. I like that. You have a question from our audience. Nisi asked, do you feel triggered to cut anymore?
I would say sometimes. That's when my anxiety is super high. I feel the urge to, but thanks to my therapist, and I would also say God as well, I now, whenever I get that urge, I just kind of like, I keep myself active. So I'll say, okay, I'm going to go on a walk, or I'm just going to tell my husband, like, hey, I need some me time. And that really, really, really does help. I would say I have not cut for like a good 2-3 years. So
That's
I'm
good.
doing a lot better. And also, I look at the scars and I'm like, I don't want more scars.
Right? Awesome. So let's stay right there for a moment, and then Magdalene, I'll hand it over to you. Nisi said, congratulations.
Thank you.
So you had mentioned, of course, about the cutting, and then feeling suicidal. And I feel like even the suicidal thoughts and tendencies haven't been that long ago of you conquering it more and more and more. How are you doing even with the suicidal thoughts?
I would say I'm doing a lot better. Like, usually, if I ever feel like I want to kill myself or having those suicidal ideations, I kind of just I try and like surround myself around my family. So one person I super lean on, of course, is my husband. I love referring to him, but I lean on him and I tell him, like, hey, honey, I'm feeling this way. And he'll ask me, okay, so why do you feel this way? Do you need some self care? Like, he'll ask me if I want to go on a date, which he knows I love going on dates. So he'll ask me if I want to go on a date, or he'll give me cuddles, or he'll just try and be in my presence the entire time and like reassure me that I'll be okay. Or I'll lean on my son. I won't tell my son what's going on, but I'll just choose to spend time with him. And I'll be like, mom just felt like spending time with you today. And he really just brings me out of that, because I'm like, he reminds me of why I want to live. I love my son, although he is argumentative and he is such a butthead. I love that little boy because he keeps me going. He is
Mhm.
just so funny, and he'll crack one of his little jokes, or he'll tell me a little funny story, and it just brings me out of that, and it makes me feel like, this is why I want to live. I want to live for him. I want to live for my future children. There's no reason to feel this way.
Right. I love that, Anna. When you said he snaps me out and reminds me of why I want to live. You are even intentional of, and I want everyone to hear this, even the people that listen on the back end when we're done. Remember that statement, because when you're in the moment, everything feels like it's falling apart. I'm not going to make it out of this. Nobody's going to miss me. I've been there. I planned how I was going to kill myself, all of that. And so in that moment, it's like, this is the plan that will work. Let me get rid of myself. And then everybody's lives will be better. So when you said, it reminds me of why I need to live and why I even want to live, I love it. Man, that thing just bam, hit right on in. And you're being intentional about living. So you're not running from the emotions that come up. And this is important for us to hang there just for a moment. You're not running from the emotions that you feel. You're intentional about counteracting what needs to be counteracted. And man, I was already proud of you, but like my proud of you just went through the roof. And wow. Shania said, I'm learning to worry about nothing and pray about everything, no matter how small I may think it is. It's not too small for God and his purpose. It's not too small to God and his purpose. That's good. That's good. Okay, Magdalene, go ahead and I'll come back.
Let me see. Okay. So, how did you tell your Christian parents that you were pregnant?
That is a great question. So, so I ended up finding out that I was pregnant. I'll just give you the beginning and then I'll get to the end. So I was at school and I ended up having hot flashes and I felt like I was dying. So I was sitting in class and I just remember it kind of felt like, I don't know, kind of like how a boxer, like if they get punched in the face really hard and it's like there's lights, darkness, light, darkness, and that's how I felt. So I ended up going home and I threw up and I was like, oh, it's whatever. I was like, my period's going to come. I'll be okay. So then I was like, actually I'm late. So I ended up taking a pregnancy test and it was positive. And I was like, oh, this is not real. Like, no, I can't be pregnant. So then I ended up having a friend after school take me to the pregnancy center and they ended up confirming that I was pregnant. And I was like in distraught because I was like, I did not think I would get pregnant. Of course, my mom would say, if you're having sex, of course you're going to end up pregnant. But I was like, it's not me. It's not going to happen. So they ended up confirming that I was pregnant. I was 5 weeks, 6 days. And they wanted me to come back in for an ultrasound. So I ended up going home and I remember, I think my mom was in the bedroom. And I came in the room and I think I was already crying or I wasn't crying yet. And I was like, Mom, don't be mad. I'm like, just please don't be mad. And she's like, what is it? What do you want? My mom's getting panicked. And I was like, I'm pregnant and I have an appointment coming up. And I can't remember exactly what happened after that. But I just remember the conversation did not go well. And my mom was like very, very upset. But then she ended up accepting it. I think that's what happened. I'm not 100%. My mom looks like she knows. She remembers.
Go ahead, Sandra. Fix the story.
Let me fix this. I knew the Lord told me, and I told her that. Yes, the Lord told me she was pregnant, and what the Lord told, I was not upset. I wasn't. My husband was. Oh, so when she came in the room and she told me that she was pregnant, I told her, in actuality, in my mind, I was thinking, well, how did this happen? Because, if you know Anna, I know Maggie. In your mind, it's like Anna and sex don't go together, because when you see her, you're not thinking that way. But the Lord told me that she was pregnant. And one of the words the Lord gave me was that it does not change her future. So thanks, my Mom. Whole goal at that moment was to just make sure that she finish and accomplish and support her in the journey that she was about to go on. So the other partner was to tell my hubby. Yes. Yeah. Yes. That's the story, Maggie.
Okay. I didn't remember that part.
I love how she said, don't be mad. Don't be mad. Because what I'm about to tell you,
yeah,
be mad.
But it broke her. And she was, I think for her, the biggest part was she did not want to disappoint us, And for me, it was like, no, it's fine. We just going to have to walk through it based on, I think probably to what the Lord told me, probably kind of calm me. But I'm not that type of mom, to be honest. I'm not.
She's not. I can honestly say it really surprised me when my mom told me, because now that she's saying this, I remember it. When she told me that the Lord told her, I'll be honest, I didn't believe her. I was like, what do you mean the Lord told you that I was pregnant? Like, this is far-fetched. But now I can understand. I'm like, yeah, I could believe that the Lord told her that I was pregnant, because the Lord does a lot of things.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Oh, that is so funny. Go ahead, Magdalene. Oh, was that it for you?
So, how did you said that you felt the stigma and the shame of being a young mom and all of that? How did you overcome that shame and guilt?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is a hard question. So I would say I overcame it by just keeping a positive mentality. I would say my mom brought up a great point of where she said that I felt disappointed and I just thought that everybody would be disappointed in me. But I kind of just took that disappointment and I threw it in the trash. And I was like, I am going to do the best that I can. I have all odds against me. Of course, as I said, I'm Black, I'm pregnant, and I'm a female. And those are all odds against me. And I just told myself, I said, you know what? I have the support of my parents, I have the support of my husband. I'm just going to push through this. So I ended up finishing high school. And even after finishing high school, I pressured myself to go to college, which was not the smartest decision for myself. But with me pressuring myself through college and taking time off, I realized that I wanted to get my bachelor's and I wanted to be a lawyer. I still want to be a lawyer. I'm just taking a break from that. But I told myself, I have a kid to take care of. I want to give my son the best life that he can have, since, odds are against us for being young, and me being young. So I just pushed through all the negativity, all the negativity, and I ended up just continuing on.
I love it. I'm just grinning internally and externally. Let's talk about postpartum. You said that you experienced it, and then you had a turning of the corner. How did you recognize when you were turning the corner? Do you remember?
This is a hard question, just like the last one.
Well, you answered the last one very nicely.
I would honestly say I never dealt with my postpartum. I didn't know what postpartum. I mean, they tell you what postpartum is, but I didn't recognize it within myself because I had already struggled with anxiety and depression. So I was like, postpartum, oh, it's just anxiety and depression. No, postpartum is also, I would say, oh my gosh, I just had this kind of attachment to my son. Like, I feared everything in general that had to do with my kid. And that's what my postpartum was the fact that I was scared to leave my son anywhere with anybody else. I felt like somebody was going to take him. I felt like the worst thing ever was going to happen to him. And I never really acknowledged that within myself until, I would say, probably a year or two ago a year or two ago, I realized that I was dealing with postpartum. And since now, as an adult, I realize what that is. I would tell somebody, like, postpartum is not just simply as you being anxious, depressed, or you're feeling suicidal, or you feel like, nobody's there to help you. It's also the fact that you might feel like, somebody's going to hurt your son. And that's kind of like, I can't even think of a word to describe it, but it's something that does happen, and you're not going to be the person that just doesn't get that postpartum depression. But what you need to do is recognize it in yourself really, really as soon as you can, so that you're not like me, where I hit 24 or even 25, and I realized that that's what was going on with me and why I was having so many issues while I was young.
That's good. That's good. Man, you're going to be a great case manager, criminal justice person, lawyer. I'm still just thinking I'm going to call you Dr. Anna, because a doctor is also someone in my book who has a mastery at their skill. That's what makes me call them a doctor. And I'm rarely wrong when it comes to the things of God. Let me tell you, like a low percentage of, oops, I thought I heard you, God, but I didn't. That's probably at 1% right about now. Oh, Sandra says 0. Thanks, friends. Thanks. Yeah. So when I call you Dr. Anna, just answer. I promise you. I'm just going to go with what's happening right now and leave my notes alone for a minute. Anna, you and I are just really developing a relationship, if you will, and getting to know each other. But when I first met you, there was such a dignitary on the inside of you, and a stature and a presence that you command by your stature. And so even while you've been telling your story, and it's just a portion of your story that you rolled all up into 15 minutes, but every part of it was one part set you up to overcome another, to set you up to overcome another, to set you up to overcome another. As you even begin to embark on the next book of the chapter in your life, it's going to be amazing. Yes, it's going to have, life is designed to have hills and valleys to it. So it's going to have the hills and valleys. But the things that there are some things that you're actually going to see coming that won't be avoidable. You have to let them come, but you're going to see them coming, and you're going to know how to do it head on. You're going to know how to handle it, how to navigate through it, and how to be successful at it. I remember you saying, for as long as you remember, so your mom was going to church when you got here. And you may not be that big a fan of church, but I'm hoping, and I hear it every now and then, that she showed you God more than she showed you church. Church comes later. I also heard you say, there's sometimes I don't want to pray, but I pray. Let me tell you, there are some people, they can go miles and miles down the street, and it seems like God is not tugging them at all. The tug that God is getting on you about will increase. He's tapping your shoulder. He's tapping your shoulder. The cool thing about the Father, many of us in the church have given a bad representation of church. Some of us are doing too much in church, so it puts a bad taste in your mouth. When it's time for you to link up with a church, and that it's a necessary thing in the body of Christ, it really is. And I can prove it to you in the word. That's not the most important thing. The tugging, answer God's tug on your life, because he is going to be the one that causes you to do a slam dunk every time in the marketplace. Every time in the marketplace. Even when you're sitting in your office, like, okay, God, how are we going to do this? Okay, God, how do I talk to this person? This is how our relationship is. This is how I talk to God. So just so you know, you can talk to him in your Anna voice. In your Anna voice. You don't have to pull out the King James version, the Amplified version, none of that. The way that you're talking right now is the same way that you can talk to God. And I just feel him tugging at you while you've been talking. So I just want to encourage you to do a whole yes, and then let him take over. He loves being in charge anyway. So just let him take it over and cultivate it. I'm gonna skip to the end, and then we'll do whatever. In finalizing your marriage, help me understand that. And then you said the not signing the certificate. Is that what you mean by it? Or
Yes. So me and my husband, we had a wedding,
okay.
but it's been my choice, not his, because he throws it in my face all the time. He's like, we could just go get married. But for me personally, I just have not had the desire to get married until recently. I'd probably say over the last couple of months, I keep throwing in his face, like, you keep threatening for us to go get married. Let's just do it.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping by the ending of this year, we'll end up just going and doing it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and make that happen. Let me tell you, there are blessings that come with being in the proper order of God. And let me tell you, whether people believe in God or not, there are just blessings that come with being in the proper order. It's like the law of sowing and reaping. A lot of Christians have just used that. It's just for the Christians. No, it's the law of God in sowing and reaping. That's why there's a lot of rich mafia people, because they sow into the church. God honors his word above his name. And so being in the proper order in marriage, it has its own set of blessings to it. And we all like blessings, whatever name you want to put on it. We all like blessings. So go on and get your blessing. I'm serious. Now, in the home buying, the Lord just told me to remind you. I said, breathe. He said it like that. Tell her I said, breathe. Breathe. You don't get to be in control of this one, Anna. You have to trust God for it. You have to. And so the only way to trust God for it is to ask him, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing? Give me the plan. He's going to let you know. Even above how he used your parents, this one is you, God, and your husband. Yeah. So together, y'all ask him, okay, what does this look like? What do we need to do? What do we got to get in order? He's going to do it, but you have to breathe. And you have to breathe more than your husband does. Yeah. Yeah. But don't fret. You're going to be a homeowner. It's going to happen. And it's going to happen in the proper time. So even if you're saying this needs to happen before the end of June, if that's not God's proper time, it's not going to happen because he's building a trust inside of you. Okay. So just breathe. Like, okay, what do we do? Oh, you want me to go buy some sheets? Okay, I'm going to buy the sheets. Don't even. And listen, sometimes his plan is so outlandish and so crazy. You'd be like, now, what does getting orange paint have to do with a house? Sometimes it's just strictly going to be about obedience and nothing else. Okay. All right. So, perseverance. Talk to us just a moment about you and your husband broke up and y'all came back together. So when you guys, I tell me if I heard it right. It was like when that one broke up happened. It was like, oh, this is done. I'm moving on. Because you said I'm just going to be single. Was he like persevering and chasing after you to get you back? Talk to us about that.
So we just go back and forth sometimes. It's mainly me. It's never him because I don't know. I could just be a very indecisive person. So when we broke up, it was just kind of like we were going through a lot of financial issues. And I would say finances are always one of the biggest reasons of why we always end up breaking up. And basically my lease was up and I told him, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to be together anymore. I just feel like the finances weren't getting better. Our relationship just wasn't the same. I didn't really feel like I loved him. And I just felt like, I just wanted to be by myself. So when we did break up, I ended up going and I started dating other people because I said I was officially done and we weren't going to get back together. Well, he ended up doing the same thing, but even with that, we would still communicate back and forth about Zion. So he would take Zai, I believe it was on weekends, and I would have Zai weekdays. And one thing I never realized, but he did, was that he would always send me a good morning text. And he would always just drop little hints of him still being in love with me and him wanting me back. And I would just ignore him. I would tell him it's not happening. I don't care who, what, when, and why. I'm just done with you. Just done. Mm-hmm. But he would continuously pursue me. And then my birthday came along. And we ended up, he asked me if he could take me out for my birthday. And I was like, whatever, sure. I guess you could take me out for my birthday. And with him taking me out for my birthday, it could even be before this. He might have a different story, but we ended up just clicking, I would say. We just got that love back for each other. And I just realized how much I missed him and how much I really how he is nothing like anybody else I have ever met. Even all the people I was talking to, he just kind of was superior over them. A lot of the dudes I was talking to, they had their own issues and they were very verbally abusive. And I would talk to him about it. And he just has this protective way about him that I just really love. And he ended up just wiggling his way back in, and we ended up getting right back together.
I love it. She said wiggling his way back in.
So definitely he's always pursued me. I've never been a pursuer. It's not that it's not in my DNA. It's just not something I want to do. But I appreciate it because now I'll chase him a little bit as well, and it just kind of makes it fun between both of us.
Oh, that is so cute.
It feels like puppy love.
I love it. I love it. Oh man, I hope your husband doesn't have to work late next Tuesday because I am looking forward to hearing his story as well. So how did you two meet?
So me and my husband, I don't really tell people this story, but every once in a while I do. So we actually met on a dating app.
Oh,
We were talking to each other on this app, and we ended up just continuing on.
nice. Hey, there's some successful relationships that have happened on them dating apps. So
Oh yes.
I'm glad you guys. Oh, yay. That's cool. Co-hosts, do you all have anything else to ask Mrs. Anna? No? Anna, so before we sign off, talk to the young people. What is something that you would like to leave them as words of encouragement?
Oh man, that's hard. Words of encouragement. I would just say one of the words that really stuck out to me that you said is perseverance. And I would just say, although life is hard, especially as a teenager, everything feels like it's the end of the world. But it gets better as you get older. So although your situation might be rough now, be it, school's very hard, kids are mean, they're bullies, and you might be struggling with anxiety and depression like I was, I would say definitely reach out to your friends, reach out to your family because they're your best support system. And even if they aren't supporting you, also having maybe that therapist as well, or even talking to God and really just push through whatever's going on because there's greatness towards the end. As one of the words that my mom says is trials and tribulations, I believe it is. So right now, this might be a trial and everything might be rocky, but at the end of it, there's going to be great reward. There's going to be that tribulation. Oh my gosh, I might have said that wrong, but it's going to get better. And I would just say continue just being yourself. Keep it positive. Negativity rules your life way too much, and I just say throw it in the garbage. I learned something at one of my internships. They do this thing called Kid Power where they go and they help kids learn to be confident in themselves and really, stand their ground. And one of the things they taught us is that they tell kids, like, if somebody's saying something hurtful towards you, take the words and you throw it in the garbage and you say something positive about yourself. So that's what I tell my son. I'm like, that kid might be making fun of your hair. Well, first of all, he's a hater. Your hair is amazing, but you take that and you throw it in the garbage and you say, you know what? My hair is amazing. I have beautiful hair,
I like it. Oh, that's awesome. Y'all, they call it kid power. Some of us need to do some adult power too. We're going to start throwing the negativity in the trash can and affirming ourselves. I love it. Anna, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. We're going to do this again. We'll pick something a little less lighter for you for the next time. We'll definitely have to have you back. Hey, guys, we thank you all for joining us tonight as we are finishing up our stories of restoration and redemption. Hopefully, her husband will get to join us next Tuesday. If not, we got a ram in the bush. That's some Christianese for you. Hey, we love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
God has a purpose. God has a plan. I'm living His will. He's got me in His hands. I'm chilling, chilling, chilling with purpose. God has a purpose. God has a plan. I'm living his will. He's got me in his hands. I'm chilling, chilling, chilling with purpose.